Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of NEWS2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Happy Friday. In our top story, the VI Police Department has its hands full when it comes to investigating violent crime or illegal narcotics and weapons. On Friday, the police commissioner presented progress on their investigation into a type of crime that's not as violent, but definitely harmful to its victims. Now, remember to call 911 or Crime Stoppers if you have information. NEWS2's April Knight has details.
Sandy, just days after he himself was assaulted, Police Commissioner Delroy Richards joined Attorney General Claude Walker on Friday in a press conference in which they discussed crime in the territory and their initiatives to fight it.
In addition to investigating our homicides and our rapes and our burglaries, there were a lot of incidences being reported that required the intervention of the police department.
Back in 2015, law enforcement established the ECU, or Economic Crimes Unit, to investigate corruption and white-collar crimes, down to the unauthorized use of debit or credit cards. On Friday, Police Commissioner Richards announced the fruits of their labor: 9 arrests, all on the island of St. Croix.
Those arrests, all the arrests that have been made, were made on the island of St. Croix. On the island of St. Thomas, there also are equal initiatives that were conducted, and similar initiatives would also be forthcoming.
And here are those arrests: Mitchell Rochard, 36, Natasha Hodge, 36, Janie Roldan, 26, Janice Eisenberg, 67, Christopher Riley, 24, and Chamalai Khan, 30. 2 Bureau of Motor Vehicles employees were also arrested: Juanita Cruz Ayala, 47, and Joseph Murray, 51. 54-year-old Mario Ayala, not a BMV employee but owns a driving school business, was also arrested. One person is still wanted by the police, a 55-year-old Hispanic woman named Rosa Diaz. According to Attorney General Claude Walker, the Justice Department will certainly be putting resources on these types of crimes that he called public corruption.
Conducting unauthorized transactions on bank accounts, using a credit card without permission. This type of conduct will stop as we aggressively investigate the cases with the police department and prosecute them.
Reporting for NEWS2, I'm April Knight.
And as we reported on Thursday, the legislature met in special session and eventually approved the governor's bill, which would issue $247 million worth of bonds and suggested austerity measures moving forward. They also spent some time firing back at Governor Mapp for making disparaging comments against the Senate when lawmakers initially broke the bill into 2 pieces and approved that version.
I'm glad that people commented before about the disparaging manner in which he spoke about the legislature, because I think it should be observed and it should be noted. And it's a contradiction when his representative comes before us and thanks us for our unwavering collaboration in this matter. You don't know which side of the fence you should sit. And it makes it difficult to trust the language of the governor.
And was somewhat damning and slamming of the legislative action in regards to it, but I'm not surprised. I don't know why any of you would be surprised. In fact, we need to equally marry the borrowing with some austerity measures as we move forward and prioritize. You know, when we look at ceremonial vehicles versus emergency vehicles.
Here's an update on the air conditioning problems at the Charlotte-Kimmelman Cancer Institute. The senior leadership team at the Schneider Regional Medical Center, they're pleased to announce radiation treatments have resumed at the Charlotte-Kimmelman Cancer Institute. Patients clinically due to receive radiation therapy began receiving treatments today. Although the treatments are typically offered Monday through Friday, radiation therapy services will be provided this Saturday, November 5th, to ensure patients have the opportunity to receive treatments. As indicated during a press conference that was held on Wednesday, November 2nd, the facility's management personnel, along with representatives from the air conditioners manufacturing company, they have been working diligently to bring that unit back online. A technician from the manufacturer arrived on island and has been able to get the unit functioning. This interim fix of the unit will allow the team to serve patients pending the arrival of the rental chiller next week. That's the message from VP of Facilities Management, Daryl Smalls. He said they are still on schedule to receive the rental unit on Monday, November 7th, and then have it up and running shortly thereafter. Snyder Regional Medical Center is the recipient of a grant that will allow for the purchase of 3 new chillers. It is anticipated that by January 2017, a new chiller will be installed to replace the existing unit that has been in service for more than 10 years. Well, with just 4 more days to go before the general election officials in both districts are scrambling to get everything ready. We caught up with Joint Election Board Chairman Arturo Watlington, who gave us his impression of how the 2016 election went so far and his prediction of how Tuesday's general election will go. Here's more.
Last election cycle, we had the issue of the DS-200 not tabulating the votes accurately based on law. That problem has been resolved, so we expect a much smoother operation this year. Of course, the primary went very smooth. We conducted the audit of the primary, and we found no issues therein. We expect that the same would be true of the 2016 general election. Hopefully, the rain will hold up for Tuesday. You know, we've been inundated with rain over the last over last week, so hopefully we wouldn't have that much rain. We have our emergency plan in place. We have our procedures that we anticipate we wouldn't need to use. But if we have any emergencies, we are pretty much ready for it. You know, hopefully we would have a situation where the ports would be closed that would hinder us from the transportation of our information from St. John to St. Thomas. And even if that occurs, we also have an emergency plan in place to take care of that.
And after Virgin Islanders head to the polls to decide who will represent them in the legislature, government house, and the U.S. Congress, tune in to hear from our knowledgeable panel during our live election special on November 8th at 7 p.m. Then later, our election recap special airs at 12 a.m. Be sure to join us as we look back at the top 2016 election stories. Well, there are now just 4 days left until Election Day, and the latest polls have only a few points separating Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So Clinton and Trump are spending the last few days mainly campaigning in battleground states in a last-ditch effort to motivate voters and convince any undecided voters that may remain. Diane Gallagher reports on the candidates' final strategy as we head into the final weekend of the campaign season.
With just 4 days to go, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump seem to be using a similar final stretch strategy, rolling out the doomsday scenario.
Unfit to serve.
Both candidates using increasingly dire terms to describe what's at stake.
Hillary Clinton lied to Congress under oath. She may now face major problems for perjury.
If Donald Trump were to win this election, we would have a commander-in-chief who is completely out of his depth and whose ideas are incredibly dangerous.
Going into the final weekend, the race is even tighter, though Clinton is still polling ahead of Trump nationally.
We're going to win the great state of New Hampshire, and we are going to win back the White House.
Both are hitting New Hampshire, Ohio, and Pennsylvania multiple times in the coming days. Now, whether it's Tim Kaine delivering a full speech in Spanish to voters in Arizona,
No es una historia del pasado.
or enlisting celebrity star power, the Clinton camp is trying to inspire last-minute enthusiasm and will hold an election eve rally with the popular president and first lady in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, Trump, who is also hitting North Carolina hard over the weekend, continues to show discipline in the home stretch.
Stay on point, Donald, stay on point.
Perhaps making some uneasy Republicans come back to his campaign just in time to sway those swing states. In Washington, I'm Diane Gallagher.
And keeping our eye on the economy, the U.S. economy's growth has stayed on track before the presidential election. The Labor Department's jobs report for October shows 161,000 jobs were added. That's a solid gain, marking the 73rd consecutive month of job gains. As a result, unemployment dipped to a 4.9%. That's down by half since 2009, when unemployment peaked at 10%. And lastly, wages grew 2.8% in October compared to a year ago. Here's a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. According to the numbers there, everything down. The Dow 42, NASDAQ down 12, S&P 500 also down at 3. Coming up on News 2, events lined up for the weekend, the relaxing sounds of jazz, plus the opportunity for everyone to energize, lace up the sneakers, and hit the streets for a good cause. All coming up. Welcome back. Here is an update. The Lou Muckle Elementary School was back in session today after being dismissed at 10:45 a.m. on Thursday. That dismissal was due to an internal electrical service interruption at the school. According to the Department of Education, power was restored to the school last night about 10:20 p.m. Virgin Islands Port Authority has begun the rehabilitation of the Henry E. Rolson Airport's runway and taxiway Alpha, which should be completed by February 2017. VIPA's executive director, Carlton Dow, said VIPA has hired VI Paving to resurface a 2,400-foot portion of the asphalt runway, then seal coat the entire length of the 10,004-foot runway and taxiway Alpha. The repaving will extend the life of that portion of the runway and improve safety conditions. Most of the work will be conducted at night and will not interfere with the arrival or departure of flights. The FAA will fund 90% of the project and VIPA provides the remainder. For most Americans, daylight savings time will end with the fallback to standard time on Sunday. Of course, it doesn't apply to the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, American Samoa, Hawaii, and Arizona, with the exception of the Navajo Nation. We stay on Atlantic Standard Time all year long. VI and Puerto Rico are in the Atlantic time zone, so we will be an hour ahead of the Eastern time zone. Your television programming times, some changes once again to expect. News 2 still airs at 7 p.m. However, the re-air times will change. Well, four-time Grammy Award-winning jazz bassist, composer, and vocalist Esperanza Spalding will be performing live on the Reichel stage on Saturday, November 5th. She previously performed at the Oscars, Grammys, the Nobel Prize ceremony, and several times at the White House. By anyone's measure, Spalding's accomplishments at 31 years of age have already eclipsed those of artists half a century older. In the past decade of her illustrious career, she has continually and brilliantly combined genres, pushed boundaries, and created groundbreaking work. Opening for Esperanza Spalding is the ever-popular Lourdes and The Switch, local five-piece band that plays at various hotels and restaurants across the USVI. Here's more.
We have Esperanza Spalding. She'll be here playing her bass and singing vocals for us. That's going to be a very awesome performance. I want to let everyone know to definitely come out to that performance, as you know, she's a legend right now, a living legend in the jazz world, and her performances are very, very stellar and on par, and everyone's looking to book her, so we were lucky to actually get her here.
And speaking of jazz, ICMC invites the community to the next Jazz in the Park. That's going on, kicked off from about 5:30. It's going on till about 10 tonight. High energy, horn-driven jazz ensemble, the Hunter Tones, are taking the stage in St. Thomas's historical Roosevelt Park. Founded in Columbus, Ohio, and currently based in Brooklyn, New York, the Hunter Tones bring energy to every performance. Their signature sound derives from adventurous, original compositions and arrangements that melt jazz, funk, hip-hop, soul, R&B, and rock. Individually, Hunter Tones members have been featured on numerous collaborations with top artists to include Andy Grammer, Ed Sheeran, Ricky Martin, and more. Also featured is St. Thomas's own Charlotte Amalie Jazz Combo. M2M Montessori to Megan's, the annual race is gearing up for Saturday. Online registration closed at noon, but you can still sign up starting at 5:45 a.m. on Saturday. Lace up the sneakers to hit the road. Proceeds to benefit Mothers Against Guns, the St. Thomas Track Club, and student aid programs at VI Montessori School. Well, VI Charter League, they have been active voice for the boating industry since 1968. Charter industries' concerns and priorities, they're there to represent the government and community. They are celebrating the VI Charter League season. On Thursday, there was a broker check-in viewing of yachts from about 9 to 12 and a welcome reception right there at Fat Turtle. Senator Ford delivered the opening remarks. Well, today was the cocktail hour competition. Many impressed the judges. On Saturday, more viewing of the yacht season kickoff party at the Yacht Haven Grand Pool with DJ Patrick Herman. And extra, there is a designer water contest. And the purpose of that contest is to highlight the creativity of the yacht chefs and to demonstrate easy ways to eliminate the plastic. Well, be sure to stick around. We'll find out with all these outdoor events what the weather is expected to be. We'll be right back.
Unfortunately for us here in the Virgin Islands, it's going to continue to be a few days of not so great great weather. We have a broad area of low pressure just sitting off to the south of the Virgin Islands. That's brought some more spotty showers and thunderstorms throughout the area. We'll continue to see that as well. So through tonight, shower or two possible. Can't rule out a rumble of thunder. 77 degrees for your low this evening. Now, as we head towards tomorrow, that moisture is still going to maintain throughout the area. So showers and thunderstorms near St. John. Temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. St. Thomas as well will get wet. And St. Croix, maybe a couple of heavier thunderstorms and showers out in that area. As far as the marine forecast, the Atlantic looking mostly calm. We don't have any advisories out there on the water. Our waves 3 to 5 feet could reach up to 6. So a little choppy with that disturbed weather moving through, but nothing that is too big of an issue. These winds out of the southeast 10 to 15 knots. The Caribbean, just a mere reflection of the Atlantic side. Waves 3 to 5 feet, and we have some winds out of the southeast 10 to 15 knots. As we head towards your extended outlook, wet weather will continue across the board Saturday and Sunday, continuing to have some disturbed weather from that area of low pressure. Now, a second front passing off of the southeast coast of the U.S. that will begin to bring some heavier downpours come Monday and Tuesday into next week. These downpours could actually lead to some localized flooding as well as flash flooding, and in the higher terrains, even some mudslides as well. So just be wary as you're headed out on the roads, and during these thunderstorms, make sure that you stay indoors. Back to you, Sandy.
Okay, thanks for that update. So keep the umbrella handy. We can expect a wet one for now. Time for our News 2 weather picture. The exact opposite. Edwin Collins of Ricardo Richards Elementary School shares our beautiful, typical VI weather, sunshine and nice bright sky to head outdoors and have some fun. There might be periods you can do that, so, not all that wet. Send us your News 2 weather picture to the address on the screen to be featured right here on News 2, and then tune in to see your work of art featured. Be sure to stick around. We have much more straight ahead. News 2 Sports comes your way next.
I'm Gary Anthony, and this is News 2 Sports. A spectacle that was 108 years in the making, the newly crowned Chicago Cubs had their victory parade today in the city of Chicago. Grant Park was an unbelievable sea of Cubs blue, and folks even dyed the Chicago River blue as Chicago shut down to celebrate their hometown heroes.
This is our sign for our dad, and we have 1 million members here. My dad was a die-hard Cubs fan, and he passed away in January. He just missed it, but we believe that he helped the Cubs win the World Series.
On to the NFL, where the usual Thursday night clunker was anything but, as the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers put on an offensive showcase. First quarter action, Jameis Winston to Mike Evans for the touchdown. Bucks up 7-0. Still in the first, Falcons' Matty Ice Ryan to Levine Toilolo for the 32-yard score. It's 7-7. On to the second quarter. Winston to Evans again. 24 yards to pay dirt, and the Bucks are up 14-13. More action later in the second quarter. Taylor Gabriel with a nice 9-yard run to the promised land. 20-14 Falcons. The Falcons soar away in the third. Ryan to Patrick DeMarco. 26-14 Falcons. Then it's Ryan to Julio Jones for another score, making it 33-14, and the Falcons finish with a 43-28 victory. Keeping with NFL action on Sunday, in a game that can be seen here on TV2 at 2 p.m., remember the time change, the Pittsburgh Steelers head to Baltimore in a clash of bitter AFC North rivals. There is talk of Steelers QB Ben Roethlisberger returning to action after having knee surgery on October 17th, which would be impressive considering the original timetable was 4 to 6 weeks. If he can't go, Landry Jones will make his second consecutive start. The Ravens, loser of 4 straight, need a win desperately. QB Joe Flacco will try to get more consistent play out of the offense, and it helps that he's playing a very familiar foe. In a bitter rivalry like this one, you can throw team records out the window. These two teams really don't like one another. Nevertheless, I like the Steelers in this one. They have more talent and firepower. That's it for sports. Congratulations to Cubs fans everywhere. Sandy, back to you.
Thanks for that, Gary. And that will do it for this edition of News 2. We'd like to thank you for joining us for all the latest in news, weather, and sports. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm Sandra Gaman saying we'll see you next time.